Hello, welcome back to the Nebulum Podcast. And as a reminder, on this podcast, we explore the idea of fulfillment. And our goal is to create a more fulfilled society and inspire people to, be on the path of fulfillment and hopefully provide some insight and tips and experiences that can help along the way. So yes, that's our goal. And I'm Zale.
I'm Grant.
And yeah, we'll just jump in. What's our topic today?
Great question. Today, I know last episode we did systems and we wanted to continue doing that, but today I wanted to go in a bit of a different direction for a bit, and we can come back to that in another episode. But basically, I've been thinking about this idea of simplicity and like intentionality and almost minimalism. Basically, the reason why this came up for me is I've been starting to write in a notebook where previously I was taking notes on my laptop. And I just noticed how the analog feeling of writing on a paper, and also, the paper isn't connected to the internet and it's very portable, and it's just a different form factor. It's just a blank page. That really, I've really enjoyed that a bit more, like quite a bit more. And it feels simpler, yet more powerful in a way. So I wanted that brought the idea of like mindfulness, intentionality, simplicity with the things we do. So I think we could talk about that whole thing today.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. And I do think this plays into being on the path of fulfillment because it kind of ties into the idea of focus, right? With simplicity, you can get deeper focus and you can enter flow states more easily. And flow state is essentially the state of fulfillment in a way, like a prolonged flow state. If you're always in a flow state, it's a good sign that you're resonating with everything you're doing, which I think is a main ingredient of fulfillment. And so, simplicity can be a good tool for that, I believe. The example with writing versus typing on a phone or laptop or something. I would need to look into more if there's any research concerning the actual medium and how that impacts our brain and stuff. And it would be interesting to know like whether people who are newer to this earth, like, Gen Alpha and those people who probably didn't start writing as much as we did when we were growing up. Maybe they started on a tablet. I'd be interested to see if they still are more connected to the writing medium. But that's kind of a separate question.
Yeah. I think the thing about it is, the part of the important thing is, one, I feel more connected when I'm doing that versus on my phone. On my phone, it's just like a flat screen, and any notification pop up. It feels very like uniform. Like I'm not. Anyway, I feel more connected to it. And then the other point is, it's not connected to anything like the internet or so I don't get to just swipe off and do Instagram. So I feel like that adds almost mental freedom, because no longer do I have that thought to like switch to something else. It's just the page and the pen and my mind, basically. So basically you can do that research. I think the feeling of connectedness to the medium is what I feel like is super important in this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this would be personal, right? Like
Yeah.
when do you feel most connected?
Yeah.
But what I do know is researched and well researched is singular purpose things. So, for example, um, like it's well known that if you want to improve your sleep, for example, only use your bed for sleep.
Hmm.
Um,
That's really funny.
right. So, like, don't work in your bed. Don't like scroll in your bed. Don't use your
I
bed.
actually haven't heard that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a thing. Because if you only use your bed for sleep, then you get more. I guess neurons that fire together wire together, right?
Sure.
So when you are back in that environment, which is your bed, your brain knows that this starts the sleeping cycle of neurons that fire, I guess. Uh, so in a similar vein, I imagine using something that is only for writing, a notebook, versus a device that has so many different purposes and you use and associate with so many different purposes, your focus on writing would be much greater if you're using that item that is singularly for writing.
That might be part of it. Like I definitely feel that, and that that brings me to another thing. It's like I want to start reading books, right? And I mean, I basically using this principle of like you can only do like with a tablet you can do all these different things, but with a book you can only open it and read it, and
Yeah.
it's only that book.
Mhm.
So yeah, gonna experiment with books as well.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of it doesn't need a battery.
Mhm.
It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels that feeling of like being an analog thing. Um, and yeah, it only does one thing. That definitely creates that environment of like flow or like
Yeah.
single focusedness. I
Yeah.
definitely feel that.
Yeah. 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 So I think that can be a good tool for improving focus and triggering the flow state is use the thing for only the thing.
Yes.
Right. Um, and it creates separation when we basically eliminate distractions
Mm-hmm.
and we do less multitasking, and instead of multiple things at one time we kind of do things in sequence. We also exercise that muscle of concentration and focus. So if when you're writing you're only writing, or if you're reading you're only reading, uh, or if you're coding you're only coding, or if you're editing you're only editing, versus like you're editing and listening to a podcast and there's something on the TV and you have a friend over having a conversation, like this trains distraction. And I mean, phones also train distraction with such stimulus all the time. Social media, everything, one short form video, less than 30 seconds these days. Like you scroll, you scroll, you scroll. You have a constant, stimulus. It trains that need for constant stimulus.
Yeah, and half the time you go on your phone, you forgot why you even picked up your phone.
Real.
Like that's the part of it. It's just like if you have something that can only do one thing, that never happens.
Yep.
Because you pick up that thing, all you can do is that thing. And so in addition to that, doing these activities where, there's only one thing is inherently, I feel like having this flow state, this focus state is inherently fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Because the task is so much more engaging,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have all these things to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a muscle to train there too, because it's hard for some people to focus on a singular thing if, we're used to high stimulus activities, or like multiple things at once to increase the stimulus. And so it becomes a practice to more and more gradually do one thing at a time, and use items or environments for only one single purpose. That can be a good way to, if we can approach that more and more, I think we'd get much better focus and more flow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like doing this is very it can be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not used to it, having all that silence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say it's easy, and it can be really uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
like depending on who you are,
Mm-hmm.
because like yeah, people might have, be very easily distracted, and they're used to having like all these different stimuli.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gonna be like a process if you find it hard to do that kind of thing. It's definitely takes practice. I mean, even for me, it's not like I'm doing like 5 hours of focused like writing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's maybe like 30 minutes max. Honestly, it's not like I'm doing like 2 hours in a row. I mean, that would be ideal, but I guess it's a muscle. So.
Yeah. 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 It's a muscle. And even when you have the muscle, you don't want to overdo it. Like you don't really want to do 5, 6, 7 hours straight in deep focus. You'll probably burn out pretty quickly. Like you can do it one day, if you're in a sprint or you just want to, but I think the standard is 90 to 120 minutes, so hour and a half to 2 hours, and then a 20-minute break. And you can repeat that a few times. I think that's kind of the gold standard of this.
Yeah, I've heard on a couple podcasts that 4 hours is like 4 hours of focus of like deep work is like kind of the limit for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need a lot of volume. It's just
Yeah.
doing this deep work, this single pointed focused work is taxing.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to be able to do like 10 hours of it.
Right. Right.
It is very fulfilling, I feel like,
Yeah.
to be engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like my mind is able to, because I'm not always, because like when I'm writing, let's say, I'm not distracted by this notification or just the fact that there's a phone. I mean, it's pixels, blue light, all that stuff. The fact that it's very analog actually helps me, I feel like, to open my mind up to have different kinds of thoughts and like have more inspiration. I feel like this simplicity, this minimalism, this intentionality really frees my mind to be picking up on all these different kinds of ideas that I might not have gotten if I was being bombarded with stimuli. Like, do you ever feel like that too, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like when there's more space, and it probably depends on what I'm doing, like I may be more receptive to creative energy or something like that. Or I find that things come more naturally, or just flow out of me more when there's more space. In general, when there's more space in my life, when I don't feel like I'm always in a state of overstimulation, because cognitive load is a real thing. And if you're always on high cognitive load, then it becomes hard to, produce. Yeah, your brain is just overloaded.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of these times it's actually creating an environment. I guess this mindset has made me feel. I guess this mindset is like, if I'm not the one trying to produce anymore, but I'm kind of just opening up my mind. So like, let's say I just sit down with a piece of paper and that's it. And I just sit there and a pen. It's not like I'm trying to produce anything. I'm trying to like see what comes, I guess. And I feel like that's another reason why like doing these like simple activities, I feel like can open up your mind to have new different ideas. I mean, I keep saying this over and over, but I guess I would encourage people to try it, honestly. I know it's probably really uncomfortable because for some people, if you're always used to always being bombarded with stimuli, but I feel like when we're not bombarded with stimuli, that really gives us a chance to like be open to receiving something new. Yeah, I feel like our subconscious minds, I don't know what they're doing because it's subconscious, but I really do feel like I have different thoughts that I would not normally have
Mm.
if I'm like doing or like being like have a lot of stimulus. Like when I don't have that, it really feels like cool insights can come to me. Like I have space for those now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's like the point I feel like I want to get across is
Yeah.
you get to receive those when you're not distracted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also this kind of reminds me of like, when you're trying to sleep and your brain is just like running
Mm.
and it prevents you from sleeping. Um, it's said that this is probably an indicator that you're too cognitively overloaded,
Mm.
right? And so if, let's say, throughout the day you take walks and, you just shut your brain off, don't try to, you know, keep feeding it or don't try to do a lot of mental work, you have times where you just disconnect. Um, that will give you the space you need so that, when you're sleeping, when you're trying to sleep, you can, drift. And I, it relates to what you're saying because when you are trying to just receive uh, inspiration from wherever it comes, I think the constant chatter in our brain also blocks that.
It does. It totally does.
Yeah.
Yeah. The constant chatter in our brains, uh, not only does it like keep us from having new thoughts, because, well, I read this somewhere in this book about shadow work. Basically, 90% of our thoughts are like the same thoughts over and over. That number, don't quote me on it, but it's like a high percentage of our thoughts are just the same thoughts over and over again.
Mm.
So when we just are focusing on those, we don't have room to receive new insights.
Mm.
And those can kind of those kind of thoughts that are constantly there can kind of distance us from our own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Watts says like if we're always thinking, the only thing we have to think about is thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is where mindfulness kind of comes in. I feel like mindfulness fits really well into like simplicity, intentionality, all this stuff, because like mindfulness is very simple. You just feel, or you just notice what's already going on, and it allows you to be more connected with the activity.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I'm trying to practice within all this. Like the simplicity goes with the mindfulness, the intention. It's like just one thing, basically, that kind of mindset. But yeah, that constant chatter in our brains can really inhibit our focus, our mental room, our cognitive load, because when we're having all these thoughts, it's kind of keeping you cognitively loaded at all times, right? Because you're always hearing thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the same thing over and over, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Mindfulness and meditation, great tools for so many different reasons. Because one, it helps regulate us, brings us back down to like a non-active state, which is great for just mere recovery from the cognitive load and from all that stimulus. Uh, Additionally, it helps train focus because when we, let's say we're trying to focus on our breath, when we exercise that muscle of noticing what's going on and then coming back to the breath, each time you come back to the breath, that's like another rep of like refocus training in a sense. Right? So that's one other benefit. And then, yeah, the benefit of just being able to be present and notice what's going on is huge because, as you said, some people might not even realize that they're in this state of high cognitive load. And many people don't. Many of us don't, like, most of the times throughout our day. We're not wholly present. We're kind of just like going through motions, and what's happening to us and what's happening in our brains is just happening. Um, But when you can be more connected to what's happening in the moment, you one understand it more, and you can understand what you need. You can understand, oh, I'm in a state that I'm losing concentration and maybe I need to disconnect for now, or these different things you can notice and understand what's going on with you. And two, I forgot what I was going to say about two, but yeah, those are some great benefits.
Yeah, that was a point I wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when we actually notice what's going on, we're able to like be in tune with the cycle of our body, the rhythms of our body. Like maybe I need water right now, maybe I need rest right now. I've been listening to music for 2 hours. I think maybe I need to just not listen to anything right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times if we have this kind of stereo of thoughts playing in our head, we don't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a vicious cycle because like basically the thoughts keep us from stopping, and the thoughts tell us to like do X thing, and it just keeps getting worse basically.
Yeah.
Until you're laying up at night not able to sleep, or something happens and you're just not feeling good basically.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say is acceptance too, being able to see the present moment for what it is, and accept that, right there. You get less resistance, because sometimes when like things are happening in our body, we're experiencing all these things, we can tense up, right? We can have so much resistance to what's happening, and so much that we might not even be aware of. And so if we're more aware of it and can just say, okay, this is what's happening, then we get less, I don't know, I think we get less tension. And I think the tension can inhibit flow, because we will be less receptive to inspiration, and we will be using some of our energy on that tension, right? Versus either releasing it simply by noticing what's going on, or by noticing what's going on and then doing what's necessary to uh, attend to your body, and as you said, like flow with the natural cycles of it, rather than being in constant tension all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is also where mindfulness comes in, because often when we have this tension, we don't realize it, and then we go into a state where we're just going on automatic.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can create problems not only for your flow, but for your, relationships. You might say something that you probably regret saying, or yeah. So being able to notice these things, it's like I can notice that I'm having tension, and that's fine, and I accept that I have that tension, and then return to actually what's happening right now. Like sometimes I'll give an example. First world problems, waiting in a line, and you're like, God, I hate waiting in this line. But then that's just the thought making you feel like that. Yeah. If you actually return to your sensory experience, it can be very, very peaceful to just stand in a line.
Yeah.
So it's our thought patterns creating the problem. And if I just notice that thought and don't give any, importance to it or believing it right away, I can actually, have a great time being peaceful and mindful in the line. So it's pretty important, this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And in previous episodes, we've talked about focus and directing one's focus and reframing a particular experience. And this is, I think, a precursor to that, because if you don't notice where your focus is, or you won't even know that you need to reframe, or you won't even know what to reframe. And so noticing is the precursor to that. And we've talked about that, just like being able to listen and be in alignment with uh, the path you want to be on, and to feel where it resonates. That is what this is for. Like, this is what that's for. This is I don't know. Yeah. Being mindful and present helps with that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, all these things help with that. It helps you basically, if you're distracted, you would notice you're distracted eventually.
Yeah.
You won't just you might scroll on your phone for like 2 minutes, but then you don't let that 2 minutes become 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
It's a big difference.
And then you kind of you're able to notice what habits, you know, might be able to notice how social media preys on our psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to avoid that altogether. And that way you're able to curate your environments
Mm-hmm.
to where you feel best, because you know by tuning into yourself, you know what makes you feel best when you feel cognitively loaded or you don't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of brought me to like trying out, like experimenting with, instead of taking my laptop everywhere and typing, take my notebook somewhere and see how that changes my experience.
Yeah.
And like, do I feel better? And I found that I do feel better due to that, like the thing that we're coming back to, like just that analog, touchy. I don't know. But basically, yeah, that is the precursor, the awareness.
Yeah.
And then the awareness, and then being able to tune your environment to enhance flow and change the tools you use to be able to enhance flow and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can work mindfulness into your system, that's one of those like upstream meta skills or systems that can affect so many different things, because when you can notice how you're feeling, then you can experiment and see how this, like what you were saying, this makes me feel this way, this makes me feel this way, this makes me feel this way. Then you can architect different systems based on that noticing and how your body responds to certain things.
Yeah. And then you can even notice, okay, when am I most creative?
Yep.
When do ideas come to me? And like, when do I feel super great? When do I not feel so great? And then you'd be able to like, you just have more ability to live a more fulfilled life when you are able to notice all these different things.
Yeah.
And simplicity is one of those routes that can kind of become a self-fulfilling thing, or like a self-motivating thing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, your mindfulness can encourage that,
Mm-hmm.
and then that can encourage your mindfulness, and then you really start to get into like a groove of like flow, and that can be very fulfilling, I guess, engaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Simplicity. Yeah. Simplicity trains mindfulness because it just eliminates distractions. You're able to go deeper. What simplicity trains is depth. And the deeper you go into something, essentially, the more you notice about the thing. And that is, I believe, the muscle of mindfulness and, the mechanism of flow. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is something you want to, I guess, what are some examples from your daily routine or life that you have of like simplicity?
Yeah, I mean, for me, these days I've been trying to do less things at once. So I'm the type of person who I would be coding while listening to something, while something is on the TV, like doing like 5 different things because I just like want stimulus, right? And so I've been trying to do less things at once, even as simple as sometimes just not listening to music while I'm driving home, right? Just to train that. When I take breaks, instead of taking the break listening to music, I just simply walk, or I'll try to meditate, or sit without doing anything, right? Just training that space, basically. And when I'm coding, I mean, these days I'll code with some music, but it will just be like ambient, like binaural beats or whatever, just like sounds. It's just like a soundscape. And I think that kind of like puts me in a different environment, but it's not music that is stimulating or that like my brain is trying to follow along to while also concentrating on something else. So yeah, I think the more I begin to do one thing at a time, the deeper I get into that thing. And like when I come out of that, let's say I do one thing for an hour and a half. When I come out of that, I feel nourished rather than drained. I feel like I was I was in a, you know, a world of this thing, and now I'm in a different environment, and now like it's as if time stretches because I have had this deep experience and then I'm going on to another deep experience. And I think that if you can chain those together, deep experience, deep experience, deep experience, whether it's like engaging mentally, uh, uh, whether it's like a mentally engaging deep experience or it's a like disconnected deep experience of just being present, like if you can chain these deep experiences one after the other, I think that's fulfillment, man. Yeah, that is a life that you feel connected to. It's a life of depth.
Mm. Yeah. It just reminds me of like the saying less is more.
Yeah.
Because maybe you reduced the quantity of different things that you're doing, but you improve the quality in such a way that your experience, your fulfillment was magnified.
Yeah.
Basically improved by a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we could start wrapping up. The only other thing I feel like either we can get to in this episode or the next episode is the idea of like an interdisciplinary person, which is like maybe you're not the Einstein of your field, but you're highly skilled in many different fields.
Yeah.
And how we can be that without basically without completely losing out on quality.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, maybe you're not zoning in completely on one thing. Maybe it's like 5 things.
Yeah.
But you still are able to deep experience with 5 different things or 3 different things, let's say. And I think that can have huge effects because of the interdisciplinary. You can synthesize things in different ways. Personally, I would like to be skilled in multiple different things because as people, I feel like personally I'm able to have that, and maybe that's my disposition. So yeah, we could either get to that in this episode or maybe talk about it in another one. Maybe you can give some brief thoughts on it, and then we can.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, let's talk about it in another one. But I love this topic because I've journeyed through this in depth in my life. Kind of the trade-off of being a quote unquote jack of all trades versus doing one thing in depth versus, all these things. And I have landed in a place where I've accepted that I'm on a path of doing multiple different things. But the key is, and the ability to notice also comes in here and recognize patterns. The key is for those things not to be separate, for you to notice the common thread between them, linking them all, so that this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you're doing isn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different directions. They all kind of synergize as one path. And yeah, I would love to get into how we do that.
Okay, let's definitely do that in next episode. I haven't heard that before, so I like that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So thanks for listening. We want to leave you with some questions to ponder as you go about your day. How about you start?
Okay, I'll start. Question to ponder. What did you do today? Do you feel like distracted, or do you feel just maybe think about one way you might be able to reduce distractions in your life. Would love to hear what people think. Feel free to comment it down below.
Yeah. My question is, maybe it's similar to what you asked, but I guess a challenge maybe for you. Pick an activity or an item or an environment that you will, if you're picking an item or an environment, choose one single purpose for that. And over the next, let's say, week, only use it for that thing. Or if you're picking an activity, do nothing else while you're doing that activity over the next week. So choose an activity that you do regularly. But I'd be interested, if you do try this, how that changes your mind and your feelings. Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you. If you're still here,
You're the goat.
the goat. And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your whatever time it is where you are. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.